everybody. Welcome to Sailing Good Old Boats. Thanks for tuning in today. So, in today's episode, we are going to have a closer look at a remarkable trailer sailor, a boat that has been on my short list for a long time. Some people say it might be the most beautiful, most gorgeous boat ever designed by MacGregor. Today, we are going to have a closer look at the Venture of Newport 23. Alright, you guys, so before we really dive in your head over heels and head out to the boat and I give you the tour and we talk about structural details and all of that, of course we'll take it on the road, trailer it, launch it, retrieve it, and most importantly within between sail it to give you an impression. Let's touch briefly on the specifications and also the out of that resulting performance calculations, that we have a better idea about what we're actually talking about here. Okay, so the Venture of Newport 23, as you can see here, is a cutter rig. It's a fractional cutter rig. It doesn't go all the way up to the masthead, although I've seen that a couple of times online that owners have rigged the boat that way with a furlong and whatnot. And that's great. You get the wind from higher up and so on, but also, mind you, you shift the center of effort higher up. That creates a whole different arm. So that might change the dynamics in terms of stability, okay? So be aware of that you might that you might be more vulnerable to a potential knockdown out of the blue, so to speak, by a surprising gust than if you would have the center of effort lower. Also, it shifts further aft a little bit towards the mast and or forward actually in that case. So it also changes dynamics here. So have the swing keel locked into the correct position, that the center of effort and center of lateral resistance kind of line up where they should be, and that way the boat should be relatively balanced and not give you too much weather ham or lee ham, even worse. You can see the layout down there: settee to starboard, little porta potty behind the bulkhead, weavers up front, and a slider galley to port. Nice, decent cockpit, and a beautiful bowsprit, which is about, I'm guesstimating, 2 feet long or so. So she might come up to a little over 25 feet, all included. Swing keel, cutter, fiberglass. The keel has been made from cast iron in that case, and the boat was in production from 1973 to 1984, made by MacGregor Yachts in the United States, and designed by the man himself, Roger MacGregor. It's interesting, he never made a beautiful, romantic-looking sailboat like that, to my knowledge anyways, ever again. All the other MacGregors are very modern boats for their time, and there was a lot of innovations going on. He stuck mostly to that trailer sailor market. And that makes the Venture of Newport 23 so special, because I don't think he ever made something like that ever again. I don't know if he had a romantic episode in his life or whatever happened here, but this is really interesting to note. Also, I couldn't find out how many he actually made of this boat throughout this production run here that we can see between 73 and 84. If you know more about it, please drop a line, drop a comment in the section below the video here, the description section. It's always much appreciated and gets the conversation started. So the boat is about 22.5-ish, give or take. In length, you can see imperial to the left, metric to the right. Length of the waterline at 19.50, and it's exactly the same like the Venture of Newport 22, so that's interesting. Also, this boat, the Venture of Newport, the Venture 22, not of Newport, the Venture 22, has the same inner liner, so maybe there is, he used the same tooling for it, I don't know. Food for thoughts. Sail area comes in at almost 200, beam of 7.17, so not even 220 wide. That's relatively narrow, and the displacement at 2,000 pounds. Take that with a grain of salt. Some owners have taken it to a scale and found out that the boat was actually heavier than that. However, that might be that they added lots of stuff to it. I mean, this is such a beautiful boat. It is a tinker toy for a lot of guys. You know, they build butterfly hatches and beautiful companionway hatches and all of that stuff. And naturally, that all adds up and adds a lot of weight to the boat. All the equipment, you name it. That might be part of that. However, it was designed at 2,000 pounds, which is ideal for a trailer seller. You can trailer it with almost any car. I trailer it personally with a Subaru Outback 3.6 liter engine that can tow up to 3,000 pounds if the trailer has brakes. My trailer happens to have surge brakes, so it works out great. And the keel itself, the swing keel made from cast iron, is at 600 pounds. So draft 5.5, that is pretty deep actually, and that gives the boat a lot of rightening arm, you know, out of the depth of the keel, out of the draft. And then with the keel up, it's only 1.5 foot, so you can really launch it from any ramp, and it sits super low on the trailer, which gives it a low center of gravity, which is perfect for a trailer sailor. So check, 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 and check. Really nice design for a trailable sailboat. The sail area to displacement. Let's talk a little bit about the performance data here. Comes in at 19.70, and that is again with a fractional cutter rig, not masthead, and that's pretty decent. That's a lot of canvas, so it should be a good light wind performer. And I can tell you, we tested it in almost, you know, no wind, and it worked. It worked really good. Balance to displacement at 28%. Well, you know, it's better than what you get from other competitors at the time. Let's say Catalina 22, for instance, comes in under 25. So it's interesting. This is more here. So it has more reserves. And then displacement to length at only 120.41, and comfort ratio out of that, not even at an 11. But it's a trailer sailor. It's super light, so you can't have it both ways. You know, it's either or. I mean, it is owed to the design what we are trying to achieve here, and that's a trailable sailboat. So spot on. The capsize screening formula also accordingly to the whole design here, not under 2.0. She has a lighter swing keel with a ballast to displacement ratio not even close to 40. So we're sitting here at 28. So of course, yeah, it's not there. So it's a boat for protected waters. This is not a blue water boat. Hull speed is good, almost 6 knots, close to it anyways. That's impressive. And the keel has a knacker profile, so it tracks well. And the pounds inch immersion is almost at 500. So here's a few notes that are interesting to mention. The Venture of Newport 23, also known as the Venture 23 or McGregor 23, or VN23, is all the same boat, and was designed always as a cruiser. It was never designed as a club racer or any of that. It was always meant to be a cruising boat with a beautiful pop top and all the amenities and creature comforts that you can imagine in a 23-foot vessel. It was designed after a miniature replica, or as a miniature replica of a 19th century pilot cutter. 18th, 19th century pilot cutters are heavy boats. Those are workboats. It's a little bit of a stretch, is what I'm saying. But for, let's say, a salesman pitch, I can see this working because, again, it's a very beautiful boat with gorgeous lines, very traditional looking. For a sales pitch, why not? Beautiful. 3.5 horsepower is what we use. The brand new Tohatsu out of the box, 3.5 horse is what we use for our test sail. And worked great. As you can see, you can outfit it between 3 to 6 horsepower. And for us, that worked perfect. And the only complaint we had, it didn't have a reverse, and that was a bit of a problem. So we brought it back and got the 6 horsepower Sail Pro from Tohatsu that also has a little alternator and charges the batteries. And then cabin headroom is 48 inches. I found that pretty accurate, and pop top I was about 5'8", 5'9", so I can barely stand in there. I'm 6 foot tall, so I have to hunch down a little bit, but it works for me. So it's a spacious little 23-footer with pop top up, and it sails well and all of that. But before we get carried away too much, let's step outside and have a look at the boat, and I'll give you the tour. So here you can see this 1977 venture of Newport 23 by MacGregor, the interior to starboard, a collapsible CT that makes for a very snug double berth or generous single berth, and then behind the forward bulkhead a porta potty area, the V-berth, and to port side another little CT bench, and then that slide out galley. With the pop top up, I measured between 5.8 to 5.9 in the salon area. Here you can see the V-berth from a different angle, so I hope that gives you an idea. So the port side here, this is 6 feet long, and the other side to starboard is only 5.6 or so, so 5.5 feet roughly. Now over here you can see the space basically behind the bulkhead, so that's a decent size here for a porta potty to go to. However, the V-berth itself comes in a little short, so I'm planning on making it a bit wider by putting like a keystone into this here. Basically one board that would go from here to there and then all the way back over there with one extra cushion, and that should significantly increase the V-berth, the usable V-berth space here. The cockpit is generous size-wise. It has only one locker here to starboard. The benches are about 6'3", 6'4", so you can lay down on them. And on the widest part up front, they're about 18 inches wide. And then there is the backstay here. You can see already stress cracks. So I have to see how that is actually backed up from the inside, and then your main sheet will be connected to this, runs through a double block over this, back through the double block in here, and that is where your main sheet clutches. We got cleats, starboard and port, and this very beautiful woodwork, which is oak, unfortunately. I think that is what MacGregor gets bashed for a lot, using cheap materials here. You cannot keep varnish on oaks that well. And then a companionway entrance, good size, good bridge deck, about 10-11 inches high. Yeah, it's a really neat little package. You got everything you need here: swing keel, pop top, in a 23-foot design with porta potty and a slide-out galley and everything. It's a really cute little pocket cruiser. I like the design a lot. Okay, now that you have a better idea about the layout of the boat, let's talk about some details here regarding its construction. Alright, so here we can see the hull to deck joint. This is what's called a shoebox joint. So the upper part overlaps the hull and is through bolted every 4-6 inches or so. We'll have a closer look at this from the inside here in a moment. And then it's disguised by putting an aluminum rub rail on top that has this rubber bumper here inside of it. So alright you guys, here we have the hull to deck joint from the inside. It is a shoebox style hull to deck joint. For the most part inside the boat it is disguised with this wooden rail from the inside. But moving further aft into the boat here to the port side aft compartment behind the galley, you can see it is through bolted every 6 inches. And also the lower part of the hull to deck joint has an interesting outprinted form that gives it even more structural integrity. So for a shoebox style hard-to-deck joint, it looks like this can actually take some pretty significant lateral forces against the joint, especially with that aluminum rubber rub rail on the outside. And then again, amongst all hard-to-deck joint options, like the outer flange, inner flange, raised torque, and so forth and so on, the simple shoebox joint is probably one of the most leak-proof options that there is. So this is actually a very good example of a hull-to-deck joint of the shoebox style that has been made very well, chemically bonded and mechanically bonded with bolts every 6 inches. Here in the aft of the boat you can also see the inner liner as it has been glued to the hull one piece and gives the hull structural integrity. Also there are stringers, longitudinal stringers here glued into the hull. I must say this has been well made. This boat has a lot of structural integrity and the laminate is relatively thick for a little trailer sailor, not bad. And also you can see here for deck hardware backing plates. For all kinds of hardware is always blocks and plates behind. The motor mount, where the bracket is for the outboard motor, has also been reinforced and glassed over. Underneath this port light you can see one of the chain plates as it comes through the deck and is then bonded directly to the hull. So also this has been made relatively strong for such a small boat. There's another one that has been connected to the deck with a good sized backing plate. So here you can see the keel trunk. This is the head of the trunk, and then the trunk runs through the center line all the way aft towards the cockpit. You can see there the winch with a cable that will lower the 600-pound cast iron keel, and it has been cleverly disguised by the city to starboard. Down here is a pivot pin that holds the entire keel into place and allows it to pivot around. This bolt, as the keel goes down, the head of the keel comes up into the trunk. The trunk itself is secured with one bolt here against the bulkhead. And then there's also a rubber bumper. This hole here is for the shear bolt. There's a shear pin. That's very important. It will prevent the keel from violently swinging back into this trunk in case of a knockdown. It is important that it stays out so that the bolt remains self-righting. It's also very important that this is a soft metal, grade A or something, bolt that will shear if the boat hits ground somehow, that it will allow basically the keel to swing back without breaking the entire trunk in here. There is a way for shore water operations where you can insert this shear pin before you lower the keel, and then the keel head rests basically against the pin. However, if you hit ground and then clear and the keel swings back, it will hammer against the bolt. And as you can see here, there's some damage. That might have happened a couple of times, or at least one time violently. And that will eat back into the fiberglass casing of the trunk. Also, if you do it that way, it's not preventing the keel from swinging back into the trunk, so your boat is not self-righting. Ideally, you should wait until the hole in the head of the keel comes up and then lock that pin in. Do not stick your finger into this, it will clip it clean off. It is a lot of weight. So just here a little disclaimer, no searching for the hole with your finger, please. Just line it up visually and then put the bolt in with 2 rubber washers. You can access the inside from here, down below and up. It's hard to see right now, but it's basically behind here if you reach in from the inside, and that allows you to tighten that bolt. That's how that looks like. Two metal washers and rubber washers, and I compress it a little bit, and I will make it watertight because obviously there will be some spray water shooting up into the upper part of the keel trunk, and that could potentially leak then into the boat. So here a shot towards the rear end of the boat, that you can see the keel trunk, and then you can see here the winch handle. If you ever hear that humming because the cable's under tension, then ease the winch up a little bit. I can't remember if it goes clockwise or counterclockwise. I guess you'll figure that out. It also has a friction brake in it. Always be careful, never have your face close to that winch handle. Always a chance that it might slip if there gets grease into that friction clutch there. That can be relatively dangerous. So steer clear of that, and once you got your lock pin in, that cable should not be under tension anymore. So make sure that you ease up on it a little bit, half a turn or even a turn, and then that humming from the keel cable goes away and there's no tension on the cable. So it will also for sure make your cable last much longer than having it consistently under tension. Another structural detail here is the mast compression post on top of the keel trunk, upper part here of the swing keel, and that goes all the way up here and transfers the loads from the deck step mast all the way down onto the trunk. So pretty beefy and sturdy design for a 23-footer. I think that's probably not bad for such a light boat. It seems to be made from teak, and it's also a pretty good thickness. So I'd say that should be sturdy enough for a boat of this size. Alright, so now that we have covered all the bases here of the theoretical stuff about this boat, let's take it for a spin and see how well it trailers, how easy it is to launch and retrieve, and most importantly, how well it actually sails. Let's have a look and see what the sailing characteristics are like. It was mostly sunny with a temperature of 49. This is no weather radio station. Honestly, the rumor that the rudder isn't that responsive and so on, I cannot really confirm that. I might set here mainsail full here in a moment, but so far the boat is very responsive, and it seems to be just fine. Again, the wind is currently very light. We have less than 10 knots of wind, maybe 7 or 8 knots, so it's not much. But we're making good clip even with that. We're doing right now almost 3 knots, and I don't even have the sails full up, so we might set full canvas here. Okay, now we have the boat under full canvas. Again, winds are light. Yes, and I know I still haven't fixed that little issue with my jib sheet going in front of the safety line, so it's really terrible. I apologize for that, but anyhow, we'll get the idea. I'll just tug it in a little bit more. Yeah, that will work for now. How fun! That's a good thing about trailer sailor. Marinas are closed, nobody is in the water yet up here, and we just showed up for 1 or 2 good days of sailing with our tiny trailer sailor. That's awesome. We still have that humming from the keel wire. Although I put the lock pin in and there's actually no pressure on the wire, it's still humming a little bit. I wonder if I should loosen that up even more. Alright, fender. Here, but oh, I see what happened. Ah, son of a nutcracker. That happened. Okay, here we go. Okay, the details, friends. It's always the details. One major complaint I do have, though. There are no handrails, no handholds anywhere. So it makes going forward onto the foredeck kind of an act. It's really tricky. You can only hold on to the standing rigging or to the mast. Adding some nice teak handrails to the coach roof and to the foredeck, or whatever handrails you can find really that you could add to this, would be, in my opinion, a huge safety improvement here. Also, as I'm struggling along here with again the mainsail down and organized, I can't help but thinking that another nice upgrade here would be some lazy jacks. So we picked up a 3.5 horsepower to Hudson, 4-stroke. That seems to be sufficient for the boat. Pushes it easily up to 5 knots, maybe even 6 with keel down. So it's not terrible, it's pretty appropriate. They say, again, between 3 to 6 horsepower for this vessel. Yeah, the only thing with the trailer sailor is that, in my opinion, it's nothing really for a day sailor, at least not with a boat of that complexity. Rigging the boat takes a moment, so even if you're quick, you know, with the mast and if you have a gin pole and all of that, I'd say it took us, when we showed up here, about not even 30 minutes to have the mast up, standing rigging, ready to go. But the rest, you know, it all adds up. You gotta get your sails ready, gotta get your running rigging ready, excuse me. And all of that takes time. So for a day sail, I think that is a little bit too much work. At least that's my opinion. Well, let's say for a nice weekend adventure or so, that will work. Some folks have that really figured out and might be able to get the boat ready and sailing within 45 minutes or something. You know, it's possible. Everything is on board and everything is prepped. That can happen, but well, again, that isn't us. Took a little longer for us today. We'll obviously clean this all up. That's no way of putting a sail away. That's just right now quick, and then tomorrow is clean up and everything will be stowed away properly. You have a very narrow bowsprit. There's not much to stand on, so it's kind of, I don't know. As you can probably hear right now, is your keel cable under tremendous amount of stress while you're cranking the keel up and down. So putting the logboat into the correct position is not only important for safety and self-righting abilities and finding the right center of lateral resistance, it also goes a really long way in terms of longevity of your keel cable. Also, if you ease up on the winch, does it make that humming noise go away that resonates through the entire boat? Ease up on the winch. Should you get one? Yes, definitely. Easy to launch, easy to retrieve, sails well, easy to trailer, check, 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 and check. Yes, the Venture of Newport 23 should be on your shortlist if you are in the market for a medium-sized trailer sailor, that is. It's a beautiful sailboat with classic lines that is a lot of fun and that you can pick up for relatively cheap. It's a great boat on a budget. Alright you guys, that shall be it for today. Remember that keelboat is important. 3 things about it. Number 1, safety, that the keel doesn't swing back into the trunk and that the vessel remains self-rightening. Secondly, remember center of effort against center of lateral resistance. If the keel isn't in the correct position, you will have a hell of a time trimming the boat. And last but not least, the keel cable. If you have that pin in, you can ease up on the cable, and that makes the cable last much, much longer, okay? Thanks again for watching. I hope you got something out of today's episode. If you liked it, please show that. Give us a like, a thumbs up, share or subscribe to the channel even. Drop a comment, drop a line, it's always appreciated. And if you want to take it to the next level, consider becoming a patron. All the links are down in the description box. Hope to see you next time here on Sailing Good Old Boats. Cheers.